Hello, everyone. My name is Christie and I will be presenting my capstone project for the M2M Bytes DataTalent Program entitled Global Cyber Threats and the Vulnerabilities That Facilitated Them. The objective of my capstone project is the analysis of global cyber attacks on the IT industry and the financial impact of the highest security vulnerabilities. The questions I'll be answering today are: what are the industries affected? What type of attacks occurred? What are the most common attack vectors? And what is the financial impact of these attacks based on the vulnerability? For my data cleaning, I was fortunate to come across a data set that did not require any cleaning. So, what I decided to do was remove columns that were not necessary for this analysis, as my focus was on the attack type, the target industry, the financial loss, and the security vulnerability type. I also decided to keep the attack source for my benefit, as I was also interested at the uh, the source type based on the attack type. I then started my visualization, and this code snippet here is to determine the industry that was most affected. It creates a pie chart visual with a percentage that is easily readable to the user. So as you can see here on first glance, the pie chart looks relatively even based on distribution, but if you look a bit closer, the IT industry has a 15.9% target, followed by banking at 14.8, healthcare at 14.3, retail at 14.1, and education at 14.0. But like I said, our focus will be on the IT industry. Now, because that is my focus, I decided to create a data subset to focus on the cyber attacks for them. So what I did here was uh, create a copy of the entire data set with only the rows that contained the IT industry. And I checked the tail end to see the number of entries, which gave me 477. But to be sure I had the complete number, I did an info check and it gave me 478 because most data sets start at zero instead of one. Now, I found out that the most common attack types were distributed denial of service or DDoS and phishing, which means that they got spam emails or there was just an attack where the systems were flooded with requests that they did not know which ones were real and which were fake, which ultimately slowed the system down for any sort of performance. And the most common vulnerability within this is 0 day, which means the vendor did not know about any issues within the software or systems before deploying, and that was the easiest way to attack. It basically means the vendor had 0 days to repair any issues because it was unknown. And the second common are weak passwords, because which I chalk up to human error. Sorry, because it's easy for us to forget our passwords or write them down somewhere so we don't lose it. The easier the password, the easier it is for us to remember, especially when we have to change them frequently based on policy. I then decided to do a distribution of vulnerability based on the attack type. And as you can see here for DDoS, the largest vulnerability were weak passwords, while for phishing, the largest vulnerability was a 0 day. This was very interesting because it's usually the other way around, where there's a weak password, so it's easier for them to get into a system, to send out malicious emails, as opposed to the DDoS. There's usually an unpatched issue within the software that they're able to send out DDoS. Um, After that, I then did an analysis of the average financial loss by security vulnerability type, for both DDoS and phishing, which were the highest attack types for the IT industry. And as you can see, for weak passwords, DDoS had a $53.09 million average loss, and for 0 day, they had a 43.89. What's very interesting within this chart, though, while the highest attack vectors were weak passwords and 0 day, the most costly was unpatched software, which I theorize to be from having to not only mitigate the attack itself, but to then work on the patch for the software and then implement it. I've also included some tips to prevent the most common attacks of phishing and 0 day. Uh, so, for one, ensure passwords for phishing specifically, ensure password for weak passwords. I'm so sorry for weak passwords. Ensure passwords use a combination of letters, numbers, and special characters. Change passwords frequently and do not store them somewhere accessible. Enable spam filters on both work and personal emails. Verify the email is from a legitimate source before clicking links or downloading. If you're not sure, please feel free to ask. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, do feel free to reach out on the Data Talent Slack channel if you have any questions. Have a great day.